Hey everyone, Chronowalker is here with a one last tier list before the championship, the Days of Beckoning, over in Toronto, Canada. I'm
Yeah, we
Eric
promised.
L, and I'm here with this interrupter guy. What's your name?
Shenanigans. Sorry.
That's okay. All right. So we just wanted to give one final update to our tier list that we made a month ago, based on past circuits and our experiences with playing the game, and of course the pre-champ gauntlet that we did, which was a really cool thing. If you want to check it out, we have playlists in the description.
A lot of fantastic players helping us and piloting a lot of fantastic decks. If you want to just like get a leg up on seeing how some of the top decks hit each other and like how those interactions seem to go for the competition this weekend, highly recommend checking that one.
Yep. Yeah, it was really fun to do and play and watch. Really sweet. But anyway, let's get into the tier list. So if you
Yeah.
see on screen, this is the tier list that we made last month. Slightly adjusted. It is currently, or it will be when we're done, in order of where we think from left to right. In past tier list, we just kind of put all of our S's and S, A's and A's, blah blah blah. Now we're gonna try to have our S's, S pluses down to S minuses, from left to right, and all the way
Yeah.
down. Why don't we just start with S's? We'll move quickly through the ones that we had no change. But so what do you think for the S's? Any changes in S for you?
Not now, but yeah, our S tier of Nubia Idris Kun, that's been there from the start. But we do, I think you'll agree, Eric, that like Kun feels on the cusp of dropping down maybe to being high A tier instead of the bottom of S tier.
Yeah, I know it's crazy to
Um,
think. A couple months ago, we were like, Con is completely broken,
yeah.
so strong, like, way too strong, needs to be nerfed, banned, whatever. And now we're like, yeah, maybe he's not even S tier, you know. But yeah, I'm kind of
Well,
with you. He's S minus, and yeah, he could be knocked out of the high ranks.
yeah, like I mean, I'll say that all three of our champions in the S tier are broken, right? Nubia's breaking card draw, Idris is breaking awareness and where you can hit in
Positioning,
the
yeah.
arena, yeah, positioning in the arena, and then yeah, Kun is breaking the I can just dash to your butt every turn because I can move 3 times. And it's I really do think its origins increase in movement and interaction. Like all the colors have like really sweet cards to just deal with someone who's just running around you like that. Which is why we've seen Nubia become like the burst deck instead of Kun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Chronowalker can keep up with a lot of the things.
Yeah, it turns out you can just have Chronowalker be your movement for the entire game if
That's
you're
right.
drawing 2 cards a turn.
All right, so let's move to the A tier. So in the A tier, going from left to right, I personally have Satir first, top of the A tier. She won the pre-champ gauntlet. Definitely some very close games, but when she gets going and hits her reinforcement triggers, man, it just piles on the summons, and it can get kind of crazy. And you can overwhelm anyone really.
Yeah, so the way these satiric decks are being built is they're pushing 75, 80% of the deck being summons. So we're trying to build our own Nubia. And the downside of like drawing 4 cards every 5 turns, right? If you're at 80%, is that you're
Or
forced to play
additional
the
cards.
summons,
Or
4
additional,
additional cards, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, every 5 turns, yeah. The downside is that you have to play them, immediately, but we're seeing dash being used, as mentioned before, as the spice to make that possible. Um,
I will say, even just playing it almost in an uninteractable time in the game
yeah,
is huge.
yeah,
Because you even something like a fire cup that comes down at the end of the turn, especially if you go first, then all of a sudden that's like free 2 damage that your opponent didn't even think about. And if you position it properly, if you understand like, okay, what can I hit, where can I move, rotate, and then what comes out that can move, rotate, and face this point, you can like really your opponent's gonna be like, oh, my thing will survive. Oh no, it just got hit by an infernal crawler and
yeah.
died. So it can do some pretty crazy things.
Yeah, so some key cards I think, yeah, in Zero is like the dash one, so like Inferno Crawler. We've been seeing sideboard Emergent Worms as a way to increase deck count, or where Inferno Crawler isn't feeling relevant enough.
Increased
Uh,
summon count while
yeah, increase
adding
summon count.
interaction. right?
And also getting cheaper, right?
Mm-hmm.
11 aura for those Inferno Crawlers, very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So
Emergent worms.
oh sorry, yeah, 11 aura for those Emergent.
It's half a crawler.
Said Inferno Crawler, yeah, half a crawler. So yeah, the reason I mentioned that is does mean like in this game 2 and 3, you're gonna want to think about a little bit more if you're gonna be in a position where if you see that Emergent Crawler off the top of your deck that you are gonna be able to hit something.
All right, now you're just trolling me. Emergent Crawler? Oh man.
Oh my gosh, Emergent. Okay, so let me just say that again. So yeah, so the thing to think about there is being in a position where you can play an Emergent Worm at the end of your turn and hit something. So just something like in games 2 and 3 that something to think about as you're playing Satyr.
Yep.
For me, the top tier of A is definitely between Tashir and Satyr. I feel like even though Satyr took our gauntlet, with like making its way through the winners bracket, brief jaunt down to the losers bracket to murder everyone who was left there, and then jumping back up.
Only to lose again to Satyr.
Yeah, to Satyr. Yeah, Tashir. Yeah, doing that, popping that down, and then getting beat down by Satyr, because we don't want to take like the matches as the be all end all of what these decks do when they hit each other, right? So I do think I like Tashir's like board management. Like Tashir is very well equipped for the late game, so I feel that with a proper forethought, the Tashir deck, if it does lose to Satyr in game 1, it should be able to punish, I think, with good forethoughting Satyr decks in games 2 and 3, because you're always staying back. And like if you can just survive that initial aggro onslaught, I feel Tashir comes out ahead. But yeah, right. It's very close. It's very close.
I mean, I actually put Kato over Tashir, but
interesting.
But I mean, honestly, I actually, Tashir. You know what? I put them equal. They're basically they're equal.
Okay,
right?
Equal.
But we did see in those games, whoever went first in the Satyr Tashir games felt like they had such a massive advantage. That I think that's kind of an issue. So maybe they're pretty even, and there's just like because Satyr went first, you got the mover's advantage, could wrap around, use that reinforcements to full effect.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a question for you, Eric. Then, if all of these decks are good, best when they're going first, which deck do you think can survive going second best? Maybe that is what makes something edge out. Which deck, like, if it's going second, it doesn't lose as much percentage points as the others?
I think probably Kato, because
probably Kato.
I think so, because Kato is like probably the most defensive, I think. Although I guess if you built Tashir, you could build Tashir incredibly defensive, right? I just think the stock deck, or the deck we showed off in that Ray was playing, I think, versus like the stock Tashir Tigers deck, I think it's a little bit more defensive. Plus, you have your Force Warp, so if you position properly, you might be able to play around going second a little bit more.
Right. I think it's tough. Like being at the aggressive position and then be able to manipulate some positions. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Next up, I still have Bazin up in A, but he's kind of in the A minus tier, I think, compared to these other champions. I would actually put Satyr, Kato, and Tashir like all almost equal to each other.
Equal to each other. I can agree with that. I do think those are the cream of the.
Bazin,
I think
is a little bit worse. A little bit worse, than those. Yeah, less health, but can get just crazy swingy games. But another one that's like way better going first and second. So something to think about.
Yes, the Emergent Worm end of turn beatdown.
All right,
cool.
Moving into B, but I guess moving into A, I should say. I'm gonna move Alta I have Alta moving back up to A.
We were very impressed with Alta on the weekend. People were kind of less high on the Phage cards. I mean, it's like a smaller card, only one set to pull from.
Yeah.
And I mean, we kind of see with the Alta deck, it's majority those amazing Axon cards.
Exactly, and I think that's why it's that once Phage gets fleshed out, even without Phage being that fleshed out, she's strong. But with Phage being fleshed out, like after the next set, like I think Alta's gonna really be strong, and because her ability is great. Like she just has a good stats and ability. So like when she gets a fleshed out card pool, she'll be really strong.
Yeah,
Right now, I would put her at the A- tier, right? Like a little bit below
yeah, but
Basm.
I think she is A tier. Like, I think people just haven't been exploring her as much. But like whether it's Caustic Millipede or just focusing into electric damage, with how we're seeing how, I guess, Tashir and Kato coming in with those 3 damage, either Tashir with her action attack, and then like a tiger, or Kato just with a tiger, and then it going first and it gets a hit again. Probably, I think we want to lean away from the Caustic Millipedes for the current meta, go more towards Picorna viruses, lean into electric damage.
Yep, it's unfortunate. Those big summons really get eaten apart by the Tigers,
Yes,
especially since the Caustic Millipede doesn't kill them in one shot.
Yeah, so I think you need to save the chi, like the 8 chi, unless you have a plan for it. The 8 chi 6 health summons are feeling like a liability with Tashir and Kato, just their style of deck right now.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm happy with Alta as our hopping up into A behind.
But I think this is A for me, right? These 5 champions. Do you have any others? Okay. All right.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I will say, going to be our next champion, Kireen, is like also on the cusp of A. I think she's shown up in some top 8s, but I think only made top 8s. The card pool of Kato, and I think that's a huge plus, and like a pretty crazy ability. I'm not sure why she's not in A, but just hasn't shown that she is.
And we've seen a strong showing from Kireen that's even just ignoring where everyone's head went, right? When Kireen was spoiled, which is like the parry or the Vadis Sphinx or Mutiny Hanzaru, just having those great defensive abilities. Just leaning into more of, hey, I'm just going to play good threats and have good reasonable awarenesses I can steal off cards. To use my heavy action 3 attack in a stupid awareness like Tsunami.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. You want to be proactive.
Especially exactly.
There's also 24 champions. Like you can't prepare for all of them, right? Variability and variety. Obviously, there's gonna be meta decks, but like
Yeah, I think it's like the old adage, which goes across multiple TCGs, which is there are no wrong threats, there are wrong answers. So it's like you need to be proactive. You need to deploy things and force your opponent to interact with on your terms, rather than let your opponent dictate the pace of the game, and then maybe you don't have the right answer at the right time, and all it takes is that happening once, and suddenly you're 5 or 6 damage behind the other champion, right?
Yeah, I mean, I also like the other old adage: the best source of card advantage is killing your opponent when they have a handful of cards.
Yeah, I mean that's for Magic Red deck.
That's right.
Oh, I killed you and you have 6 cards in hand. That means I had 6 card advantage over you.
All right. Well, someone you're not killing very quickly.
Fast.
Yeah. Up next is Iblis. So Iblis is a very weird champion, at least for me. I still think she's in B, but because she's more of like a meta choice.
Yeah, absolutely. In the right, which we've been saying right from the start, in the right meta, Iblis could absolutely jump out, and we saw a really strong, was it 4th place finish by Iblis in the most recent Last Chance qualifier, leaning into health gain and beckon breaks, and really sweet interactions with the.
All right, but that being said, while you're beating up on the Nubias, right? So I don't think the Nubias did as well in that tournament. The 2 Kato decks were in the 1 and 2, right? So I think those summon base decks are definitely still going to be a nuisance for an Iblis deck, which that's fair. But she has a very strong ability against certain decks, and that's where she's always going to be.
Like there's a very real chance that you bring Iblis and then you just run the tables, right? You just get the right matchup, and it's just a cruise all the way up.
Yeah. So Iblis is like anywhere from like an A to a B minus, A minus.
Yeah,
to
it's
B minus,
gonna flex.
Yeah.
But yeah, really love the Beckon Break, Divine Blessing, Drawbreak alike, and then Hallowed Ground as well to getting, as if 1 damage profession isn't enough. Hallowed Grounding in response to Anubia's Bolt Shot is like It's almost like that's. I wonder if that's almost too all in, but it's also reasonable against summons. If you're getting game beat by summons, making
Yeah.
it so that a 3 damage attack only does 1 damage, that's gonna buy you so much time.
Yep.
Yeah. So really
Yeah.
sweet stuff.
All right. Moving on to the next one. Kasha.
Yeah.
Kasha. So I mean, a lot of these B champions that I have are kind of like all, I think, pretty even in my opinion. I would say Kasha is like
Hmm.
right smack in the middle because she is probably, if you build her with the draw breaks, she's probably the most consistent champion in her deck, at least, or at least the
Yeah.
one I built is like about as consistent you can get in Genesis, right? You have a ton of draw breaks, and then when you get a draw break, you draw so many cards that you're going to be hitting the cards you want. The issue is like the power level of the deck is, a little lower, but the consistency is crazy.
Yeah. I think in the current meta, I've got to kick Kasha back, I think, to the bottom of our B tier, just for the current meta, because it's the action speed attack, which is only 1, right? Just making it really hard to interact with, like, thinking about Satir, bringing out, these, like, cheaper health summons, that can be cleaned up easily, but like only if you can like double move, like a fire cup at the end of turn. Kasha like has to single move to try and deal with that, gain some health back. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel that having a swift attack, um, and just being able to like get an extra point of damage when you're like using like a call shot, get your attack in, and it gets up to 4 damage to clear out something. I feel that's really important right
Yeah.
and yeah, Kasha cannot do that, which is why for the current meta, I think uh, if you don't have a proactive Kasha that's fighting against what other people are doing, and I think like from what Satir like just vomiting out summons, like an extra summon every turn, like that early game is going to be really tough to get through with
Mm-hmm.
Kasha.
Interesting. I guess yeah, it depends on how you build her. Because while yeah, you won't be able to clear out those low health summons, you can always just kind of stay back and use your AOE's. But yeah, I do agree that Satir is definitely stronger. So up next, Manat. I do think Manat is actually all right. She's in one of
Yeah,
the strongest color pairings. Has good awareness, interesting ability. 2 damage is pretty good, decent health aura, and all that stuff. But
yeah. I mean, 2 damage swift attack as well with a great
yeah.
range. Yeah,
But like nothing, broken or just pops out, and the issue, like one of the biggest issues, of course, is if that's probably keeping her out of A or high or B is that like no one's playing you because if you're playing those colors, you play Nuvi or Kun. You don't play Manat unless you're
yeah.
Joey. So it's hard to tell, right? Because like we haven't really seen any games with her, really. Like almost,
Yeah.
I've almost never seen her played.
Yeah, I mean, some good pilots bringing Minot, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Minot in favor of Nubia and Kun at the championship this weekend. Yeah,
Um,
cool. And Core, what are your
yes,
thoughts on Core?
yeah,
Last
Core.
person that we have in B tier.
Oh, Core is the last person in B tier.
Oh no, like the last person we from our last B tier that we haven't talked about. I mean,
Oh, was Essa not in our last B tier?
oh yeah, no, Essa was okay. Remember, right? Okay, you can scrap that. um,
Um, so Core, yes, Core, second place last champion. Although
championship,
actually
yeah.
championship. Alex wrote a interesting article recently
Yes,
about there's
fair, unfair,
fair,
and
unfair, and
balancers.
balancers, and how Core is a balancer, which I guess makes sense because I've seen Core do well, but every time I play Core, it just doesn't feel good, and then I think that's why it's like he needs a specific meta to do well in, kind of like Iblis, and
Yeah,
we're
I
just
think
not in that meta.
Tashir and maybe Kato are looking like are real balancers right now, like stronger balancers.
I wouldn't call them balancers. I mean,
Well, it depends how you build Kato. Tashir, I feel like as a control, you wouldn't call that a balancer.
that's
I mean,
pretty
or
fair. I would just call that
is her
fair.
attack okay, just call her fair.
Yeah.
All right. Um okay, so yeah, like the so how would you
And
yeah, so
yeah,
like
so Core basically just hasn't really. He's not good in the meta right now. He's got good stats, he's interesting ability, like a bad Nubia ability, but decent colors, decent card pool, but just can't really do that much, right?
Yeah, I think the core synergy and sweetness was like, I mean, you're using Death's Companion as a cheaper
Oh yeah,
angel.
and Death Companion is
Um,
almost unplayable now,
yes, because of the huge uptick in cast abilities
and Called Shot.
from Origins and Call Shot. Yeah. Um, so yeah, just like yeah, Call Shot being accessible by all of the yeah, so, sorry core, I mean, well, I'm sure you'll get some love in the future. There's a sweet card advantage engine and right here, and a swift dark attack too,
Mm-hmm.
like reasonable energy and aura, little low health perhaps. um but yeah, I think maybe with some new cards we'll see core coming back. We need something stronger than our Death Companion and like
Mm-hmm.
wheel spinning of Call to the Bones and eating our own dudes, um, to really fight
Yep.
in the current meta.
All right, next up. So I've got my second change for the day. I'm kicking Essa down. Essa's down.
Wait, but Essa just showed up in a top 8.
Too late.
Why, Eric? Why?
Essa's down. This is just done nothing, and low health for a fighter means that even if you're getting into the thick of things and fighting, you're gonna
Yeah.
be losing in a losing battle against a bunch of other fighters.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I'm where I was at. Essa needs just a couple more strong earth attacks at some different cheese to like even things out, and then we'll probably see maybe Essa popping back into beats here. But without that extra little way to get that stun trigger, that bash trigger happening more consistently, to buy that tempo and unload on someone. Yeah, we're not there yet. Strong champion, but doesn't have the card pool.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And the consistency in Essa decks is pretty limiting because there's no card advantage options in those colors.
Yeah. Hopefully, hey, who knows? Maybe hopefully in the next set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another. I'll quote Alex as well as one last comment on S. I think of something to the lines of, yeah, like S's energy reduction is great, but energy reduction doesn't win games, right?
Yeah, it means nothing, and until it means something, I guess.
Yeah.
Um. But yeah, so all right,
Yeah, if we
that's
see
rough.
more fatigue, perhaps, who knows? If like a bunch of fatigue decks come out, I mean, that was the build of Essa, right? It was a Essa fatigue league.
Yeah, it was a very interesting build. I did like the look of it, but had
yeah.
24 3 and 4 cheese, like 13 right hooks. All right, memes in the comments, please, and then 11 snares. So those are okay at their chi level, but
yeah,
it's so many of those low chi cards that like there's gonna be a lot of games that you just draw right hooks and snares and then cry a bit.
Yeah. I mean, actually, while you bring up snare, should we put snare on this tier list somewhere? It's got to be A, right? Because snare has been looking amazing.
Well, and when our top
other
5 cards out of Origins tier list or list video that everyone likes to do, maybe snare will snare a good spot. All right, so I mean, I have no more changes. And
yeah,
no
I
other
don't think so.
opinions on the rest of or nothing's changed on the rest of these champions. So,
yeah,
everything else I think is all settled. So, if you want to know what we think about them, go watch our previous tier videos. And if you want to win games, play the ones at the top. And if you want to have fun, also play the ones at the top. I mean, you go play whatever you want. Play whatever you want.
I mean, I think there's some fun stuff to do in B tier for sure still.
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, it's got to feel good. Like I mean, it's almost worth it. I'm a judge, so I won't be playing. But I like if it was, I'd almost feel kind of worth it to play Iblis just because it's like in 5 rounds I've got to face Nubia once, right? So just to have that match where I just get to bask in my glow, drop Hallowed.
If you bring Iblis to the championship, you're not gonna play a single Nubia.
Yeah, you're gonna play Satyr and Tashir nonstop all day.
Mm-hmm.
and it's just gonna be like a bad time. But I mean, yeah, if it can happen just once, like it feels so good just to like watch Nubia dance around with Chronowalkers and bolt shots, and then you're like, I mean, bolt shot doing 2 damage is kind of cute, I guess.
Tickles.
That's adorable. I mean, heaven forbid you play more than one and just stay on that spot and then like deck them. Is that part of it? Did the Iblis deck just play like 3
Yeah, you
what's
probably
it
just
called,
deck
like
them.
hallowed grounds on one spot and then just stay there and then wait for Nubia to deck? Like,
Well, the bullet shots do kill the hologrounds eventually.
yeah, but I mean, like, that's almost worth it, right? Like, them spending their bolt shot on your hallowed is like, that means that hallowed ground ate up 4 damage, right? Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that's our current tier list going into the championship. If you disagree with our last tier list and disagree with this tier list, that means you didn't challenge us to a game. So if you want, go on Discord. Not yet, because you know I'll be in Canada, won't be able to play. But next time we come and do a tier list and you disagree, challenge us and prove us wrong.
Yes, prove us wrong.
Yeah.
All right.
I know it's weird that we made a Genesis channel. We want to play Genesis, but you know. But anyway, so yeah, we'll see you in the arena.
Yeah, thank you so much, and like, share, and subscribe.
Peace.
Bye.